I have to now welcome people to episode 28, 287 of That Great Business Show. I am Conall Ó Móráin, and this is the business show where we try to bring you the not obvious, just like in this episode. Every so often you meet someone who appears to be operating on a slightly different level to the rest of us. You know the type. Olympian, world champion, BBC commentator, then casually wanders on to Strictly Come Dancing and does rather well, then turns up on Celebrity MasterChef and Strictly on Ice and does rather well. Meanwhile, the rest of us are congratulating ourselves for successfully waking up in the morning. My guest today is one of those irritatingly capable human beings, a man who seems to collect achievements the way the rest of us collect plans that sounded great at the time. We're a business podcast, so we're going to see what we can learn from the superhuman about doing business better. This conversation is brought to you, as always, by our pals down in Mayo. De facto shaving oil. It is the world's best shaving oil. It's not a beard oil. It's a shaving oil. It's for shaving all of your bits. defactoshave.com. And today's conversation was recorded here live at the National Concert Hall in Dublin, and our thanks to the NCH for the use of their premises and to the Welsh office at the British Embassy in Dublin for organising the event, particularly Rachel Randall, John O'Loughlin and Ian Quick. Colin Jackson, welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thank you very much.
I said you were exceptional. And let me be rude from the beginning, because I'm rude always anyway. What's the point of asking somebody who is so far above the norm to relate to ordinary human beings like me, to try to motivate me, to try to teach me how to be a better person in business, to set aims that are so mundane to somebody like you? Your track record, see what I did there?
Yeah.
Just extraordinary. 44 wins on the trot, for example. World champion, silver medal Olympian. You just won everything. You were extraordinary.
I think lots of times people need to be reminded that I spawn from a community like they do, exactly the same way. You know, my life starts in the same way as everybody else. I was brought up in Llanedin in Cardiff. Just on a regular council estate there. My mum and dad were just normal, everyday people. There was nothing, super special about anything that we did. But one thing that my parents certainly did for me was give both myself and my sister belief and allowed us to dream. And I say, and I use it as part of my mantras, you have to dare to dream. And my mum and dad allowed us to just dream. And dreaming, I always say to people, it kind of sets you free. And when you're a kid and you can dream about potentially being an astronaut, and you just play being an astronaut, or play being a fast runner, or play, in my sister's case, like that she was on the stage or she was on TV. And my parents just kind of supported that dream. And at no stage do they ever just roll their eyes at us and go, remember, it's only a dream. This can never happen for real. So to have that as your starting point is very powerful.
But I think every kid has those dreams, cowboys and Indians, NASA astronaut, whatever, man on the moon. But they don't have your capability. 25% fast twitch muscle, unlike most human beings. How many people on planet Earth have the same muscle as you?
Under 1%.
Yeah. So I'm the 99%. I'm representing the 99%. When we are looking to people like you as a motivation, and you are massively motivated because I say, oh my God, what's he going to do next? But you are not like us.
Well, then you also got to remember, I did not know what my muscle capabilities were because I did not have any tests prior to me going into the sport of athletics. So I go into things blind like everybody else. I think one of the things that I have, and I think, again, we kind of try and work out whether it's nature or it's nurture, is the ability to apply whatever I got in the best possible way. So I learned to align myself with winners. I learned to align myself with people who I would describe as the oracle. So people with the knowledge to take you up and beyond. Marry that with your dream and your aspirations and with the natural ability that you've got, which you don't always know you have, and magic can happen. All that goes into one cauldron, it gets turned around, and that turning around is not a mixer. It's you doing the grind. It's you doing the hard work. It's me on the diet. It's me that has to do the hard work, extra work in training, etc., etc. So that all goes in, and what comes out ultimately is a performance.
Align yourself with winners.
Mm-hmm.
But like you were a kid, you weren't aligning yourself with winners, were you?
Yeah.
Did you really?
From a very early age.
That's exceptional.
Well, that was because of circumstance. So lots of things where you say is luck. People will say that, but I can't help that. My grandparents were friends with lots of people from the West Indies cricket team, who were a very successful team at that stage. And so as a young boy, I saw people who looked like me, who sounded like, not sounded like me, more sounded like my parents, succeeding. So that was your everyday. I turn on the TV and they all were. 4 days prior to that, they'd be playing dominoes in the house with the grandparents. So, of course, straight away, I was aligning myself with people who were outstanding and succeeding. And so you believe it can happen to you. Why shouldn't it happen to me? Happen to them. Well, why can't it happen to me?
And was there one of those light bulb moments where you lying in bed one night and say, I think I'd love to be an Olympic athlete? No, you weren't.
No.
Doesn't happen that way, does it?
No, it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. And all I knew is that I was going to do something where I was going to have fun. That was it.
I can see that now. I can see it in you.
Yeah, that was me. I was just going to do that.
But fun could be lots of things.
Yeah, for sure. But also, I wanted something I was going to have fun that I was good at too. So there's lots of things that you can have fun that you're not so good at, but you're enjoying yourself. And in that situation, I never discourage people, because whatever can bring a smile to your face, definitely do, because it's just better for your health anyway. So for me, the fact that I was good at athletics was a bonus. But I had lots of friends in athletics, and I had a lot of fun doing it, participating in all a mix of events, and I think that was great. Yeah.
Now you are also in business, and that's always good because you can relate to people in business. But one of the things I'm beginning to learn about you is, because of your personality, you attract people, and you're a networker. Am I right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think I'm always somebody who wants to learn constantly, and I will learn from anybody. Literally, I always feel I will leave an environment, a situation with some little gem, with some kind of nugget that I'll try to apply to me. And I learned this from athletics as well, because I remember my coach saying to me that, remember, try and learn from people that you look up to, role models in that sense, but please remember you're not them. So just take from them, and you won't be another version of them. Just be you, and use what you think is mesmerizing, inspiring, and apply it in your life, and you'll have a chance. And so I kind of feel that that's exactly the same way, my same thought pattern when it comes to working within business. And whether, when I'm an ambassador spokesperson for different business
you better mention it, because they're paying the bills.
They do pay the bills, yeah. So when I'm working with people like NatWest, Royal Bank of Scotland, and with Red Bull and with Puma, for example, they use me in very different ways than people would initially think that they would use me, because they think they use you just as a face.
Yeah.
But to them, once they start working me, they realize I'm more than just a face.
A pretty face.
I was never going to say that. I would never say that. I do look in the mirror, so I know. But and I very much like that they don't only use me in an ambassadorial role in that sense to attract, but to use my communication skills, which I think I've learned a lot and spent a lot of time doing, and trying to hone to articulate not just what they're doing as a business, but articulate information that people will take on board, because my previous successes have given me credibility with my voice. So I like that I'm allowed to do that within these big corporations.
And what do they get you to do?
You name it.
Within a business context, say NatWest, What do you do with them?
Well, one of the rare things that I do that most people don't, for example, I will host a podcast with the CEO. So when you're doing the CEO of the whole group, it's quite interesting when you can ask them all sorts of questions that, their staff members would never dream of asking, but you can get away with it because you're who you are. And so that's something for me that I really find fascinating. And also linking across to making business decisions in Puma, for example. You're deciding what clothes that people should be wearing. You're deciding what athletes potentially that we should be putting a lot of money out on to help us to obviously market our products. So to be part of that as well, I feel is just great. It's wonderful, and I learn a lot, and I enjoy it.
Go back to NatWest and the CEO. What kind of questions have you asked that actually that stopped him, for example? Or did he?
One of the things I asked Paul was like, how's the house renovation going? and they were like, I'm not sure you can ask him about that. And he's like, no, it's fine. It's all good.
But did you ask him about the business? Anything that in the business that,
Yeah, we always ask about those comparisons, how it's actually going, how the government's decisions are making that effect on them, on what they're doing. And how will I know as an everyday person? Getting people to understand the difference between what they do in corporate banking and high financing to the everyday, because the everyday people only deal with tellers in that sense. You're frontal that way. They have no idea what's going on in the billions and billions of pounds of transactions that are going through daily. So it's breaking that down for people to have an idea on what is going on and where their money is spent. It's quite interesting. It's eye-opening for me. Yeah, and I deal with brands that deal with billions of pounds at a time, but banking is another level.
Tell them about your own business, because you are in TV production, amongst others.
Yeah. I find it really fascinating. I always would, before I retired, I wanted to get into production. I never wanted to be in front of camera.
Why?
What did I want to do in front of the camera?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to shave every day. Right?
You mean with de facto shave?
But yeah, I was kind of like, as an athlete, I love just putting on the tracksuit and being comfy in comfy shoes, etc., etc. And I never ever just this corporate stuff and being in front of the camera. You always have to look smart, etc. So I just
but you don't. You could do travelogues. You could do whatever. You also told me that you have appeared in cameos in movies.
Yeah, as well.
Were you shaving in those? Did you shave in those?
Yeah, they insisted that I look like me. Yeah. So I was always wanting to do behind the scenes. But and the BBC, when I first joined them, they were kind of insistent that I was in front of camera. And I had one of my good friends is a film producer by the name of Duncan Kenworthy. And Duncan, I explained my world
to him. You better tell them about exactly what
kind of films he does. Oh, okay.
I might just know some of them.
Okay, so he's a producer for Notting Hill, For Weddings and Funeral, Love Actually, Lawn Dogs, I think he does as well. He also worked very closely with Jim Henson, so he was part of that Sesame Street stuff.
So he's a player.
So he's all right. He does all right. Yeah. And he's one of my mates for his sins, right? So, and I was saying to Duncan, I want to do this. Now, I wasn't sure I said to him I wanted to do it because I saw the lifestyle he had, which was pretty nice. I said, maybe I could do a little bit of this. But no, he was great. He was always saying to me, if you're going to go into television, first of all, and the production side of things, you've got to do stuff where people will feel that that's your genre. He said, so don't think you can go in and be making a history documentary because they'll be going, what does he know about history? So you have to kind of start with your sporting prowess because that's what people know you for. And I was
you just
furious.
Told us that you're not interested.
I was furious with that. Exactly. I was furious. I was thinking, I don't want to do that. I do want to actually do history because that's what I have my passion in that sense. So in the end, I linked up with a couple of people and we started creating Red Shoes Productions, and we started off doing some things for radio because that was comfy, right? So you know what you're doing. Then we do some TV stuff, and then now we're in the process of telling a story. It's a Welsh story, fun enough. Bizarre, right? How bizarre is that? It's a Welsh story of a guy who was autistic, and he set off from Barry and Penarth, is where I'm from, and he sailed down to Antigua because he had this dream of racing the regatta down there. And he built the ship, built everything together, and he ended up winning the regatta down there. So we're telling that story. So we're right in the middle now of casting that and meeting the directors, and it's very exciting.
Is that a TV or movie?
It'll be a movie. It'll be a movie. I'm just excited to get into Antigua. Yeah.
English language or Welsh?
Well, we're looking at it as bilingual in a sense. So, if you know there's a series, finished now called Bang, that was shot in Wales, and my sister was in Bang, and that was bilingual, so you could watch it on both ways in that sense. And I think that worked. That definitely did work. So, you know, if you're telling a Welsh story, there's always people who would siarad Cymraeg. So you've got to have it in some way along the line. It just makes sense. So we try to think things as authentic as possible in that sense. So yeah, it's a very exciting project. I'm looking forward to it. And it should be good. It should be fun.
Now go back to my business, because we have a business podcast. I'm going to squeeze you here for... You probably charge a vast amount of money for master classes.
Huge.
Well, thanks to the Welsh government, we have you for free.
Oh, there you go.
So tell business people, small business, mediums, big business, things that you have learnt over the years that you sometimes say, but everybody knows that, but that they don't.
I think everybody will know, but they're not told and told and told again. So in the world of, we always make that connection between the world of sport and business in this sense. And in sport, what you try to do, what I describe as you have consistent application. You're always applying your skill, what you've learned, your set, etc., etc. And I think this is really important in business. Is to understand that you've got to consistently keep driving, keep working, keep hitting those marks, and set yourself goals that are right and realistic for the moment in time. As a 19-year-old, I would never be saying to myself I was going to be a world record holder, but I'm going to be the best 19-year-old there could possibly be. And I think that's exactly the same thing that you do in the world of business. You have dreams, you have aspirations, you have goals that you want to achieve, but they've got to be honest ones for there. Don't be claiming that you're going to be turning over 10 billion when all you're doing is selling some kitchen sponges, right? After the first day. It's not going to happen. But, set out to sell at least 2,000 if you can, and then to 5 to 20, etc. So those steps are done time and time again. And keep applying your desire, your hope, and your dream. And I think you can make it to the top. I believe every top business person, entrepreneurs, etc., I do believe they have exactly the same things that it needs to be a top sports person in that sense. The only difference is they may not just physically have those super fast twitch muscles, which will allow them to be great at sport. But the desire, the drive, the commitment, the dedication, all that when you're being rejected constantly, I think they're lessons that apply to us and into business.
But you use it, you were talking there about being the best 19-year-old you can be. I was 19 once. I didn't measure against anybody else. I was looking for girls or something. I didn't care. There was no measure as a 19-year-old or a 20 or a 25-year-old or a 30-year-old. What do you measure against?
I was going to ask you the question in a way. I was going to do a question interest. I was going to completely reverse the show. I'm
happy.
And say, well, as a 19-year-old, what were you doing in that sense? And that's what you were doing in your 19 years. Of my 19, I was already comparing myself to the best hurdlers in the world, in history. So that was my 19-year-old life. Yours was very different.
Again, makes you exceptional in my world. Because you're way over there, up there.
Is it exceptional, or is it just I had different interests? So I would look at people who were 19, who were knocking about me in that sense, who just wanted to be great musicians or great surgeons. And I would marvel at what they were doing because it was something that I had no interest in, but I knew it was great. But they were still 19 and striving. So whatever you decide that you want to do it becomes your norm. It's not anybody else's norm. And I think when I'm advising youngsters as well in sport or in anybody business, remember just whatever's your norm is yours, and you ride with that and you take it with you. And sometimes being human means that you're going to make mistakes. And when you make those mistakes, you've got to dust yourself off and you try again.
And you did, and you were successful because you did. What was your hit rate that you told me? 57%?
57%.
That's really interesting. That's of all of your races, you won
I
50.
won 57%.
Not bad, though.
Well, I'd rather it be 90.
So any of those motivational things that you have read that you said, that is horse. Say, I'll be better, I'll be better. Do you look in the mirror? When you were running, did you look in the mirror and say, I'm going to be better, better, better? Or how did you manifest that thinking? You had a coach. I'm sure the coach gave you a few kicks along the way.
Yeah.
Now, leaving that aside for yourself, self-discipline or motivating yourself, because when you're in business, when you're a solo operator in business, there ain't no coach.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
I think, first of all, I looked around. I would always look around. I think that's a really good trait that I have. I'm always searching. And I think in business as well, you've got to search for people who are like you and are successful. It's no point talking to people who failed 300 times, right? I mean, well done, you failed 300 times, but don't give me any advice. I don't want it from you. I want advice from the people who've done it 3 or 4 times, numerous occasions, back to back to back to back. So I was always going to be inspired by these type of people. And so for me, it was that sense of being honest and truthful, because I think we lose a lot because we don't have that sense of genuine honesty. People will look at you and say, oh, you're doing a great job, a really good job. And then as they walk away, they're going in your dreams, right? In that sense, nothing's real. So I think the sense of true honesty is something that is and has got to be outstanding for you as an individual if you're going to make it. You are human after all. You're not a robot. You will make mistakes. You will be that person who will break down and cry constantly because things ain't going their way. But that's fine. You're human.
When you didn't win in running, did you do that? Did you stop, break down, cry?
Yeah, of course. Especially when the Olympic Games, for example, when you're a favorite, when you have this ultimate dream of, because I wanted to break the world record and win the Olympic title all in the same race. And I knew I was capable of doing that. And I managed by being completely a jerk.
Now, discuss that, because I read that.
Yeah.
Like, that's a well-known bit of a story in athletics now.
Yeah.
What were you doing and what did you do?
Oh, well, I didn't do and what I should have done is the truth. You're ranked number 1 in the world. You haven't lost any competitions whatsoever. And the number 2 in the world is your training partner. So the person who could beat you is a person you put away every single day. So there's not a big problem in a sense. So the Olympic champion and the Olympic title is obviously coming home with you, right? That's clear as the day. And so I warm up for my heat and I run beautifully well in the heat and I smile. And I literally walked across the line and looked at the clock and it was a time that only I bettered. So I was like, well, this is easy because it's just easy, right? Who'd have thought that this little lad is going to make it look so easy? But also, I had this dream of breaking the world record because that would be the ultimate thing. Olympic title, world record, legend, right? If you do that, absolutely. So I wanted to make that legendary status.
Oh, was that a legend for you? A legend for your parents? A legend for Cardiff?
I think it'd have been a moment for everybody. And that is always clear because people will always tell you when something like that happens where they were. So I was here when you did this. I was here when you did that. And if you do something that is very, very unusual, then they're more likely to remember it as well. So I had that in thinking, well, I'm ready to do this. And I came off the track and found my coach, and my coach said to me, right, you got another race in 2 hours. What are we doing? And I laughed at him, and I said, I'm not doing anything. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, I'm the best in the world. You just saw what I just did. It's all good. The finals tomorrow, I'll just get through this race and then it'll be done and dusted. And my coach said to me, let me just tell you one thing. He said, complacency has a tendency to bite you on your backside. Just remember that. And I just smiled, and he left and I left, and I lined up 2 hours later, and then I ended up smashing, I think, the fourth or fifth hurdle. And when I hit the hurdle, I tore my left oblique, and ripping my left oblique means I'd lost the ability to stabilize myself properly and also move my trailing leg. And I knew straight away at that moment in time that my absolute dream of becoming the Olympic champion was over, never mind breaking the world record. And it was devastating for me, knowing that I had to get up the next day with this injury and try without telling anybody that you're injured. The only person who knew I was injured with my training partner was Mark, because he was trying his best to fix me so I could get on the track and try and produce the goods. As it ends up, Mark, my training partner, takes the Olympic title, and I come home, limp home in 7th place. And so it's a massive lesson that I learned there, that, you know, a job's not done. It doesn't matter how great you are. A job is not done till it's done. So every single element that you should do, you need to do to make the journey to the finish point exactly the way you want it to be. And so Mark came home with the Olympic gold medal. It was a bit in training for a bit, yeah, because I felt bad for him because he could never generally celebrate that Olympic gold medal the way he would have loved to have, because he was living in my house. So that was going to be tough, right? And then, of course, most of the training group as well were kind of on my side to win because they expected me to be the Olympic champion. And when this guy who's come over from Canada takes the title from their boy, they weren't happy. So, but I learned from that. And one of the big things I learned from it, it wasn't about him, you know, winning in that sense. I'd lost it. What he proved to me, though, was every element of preparation was spot on. So the training methods that we're using, everything that we were doing was absolutely spot on. What fell foul was my attitude. And I learned them massively.
Where did that come from, that attitude? Just because you were so brilliant?
Just because I was so brilliant. And you believe the hype. So I believe that I was untouchable because I was untouchable. I proved to myself time after time that I was untouchable. And then when you get overconfident, like my coach said, at the end of the day, it has the tendency to bite you on your backside and also sweep your legs. He didn't tell me he was going to mug me, right, in that sense, but it properly mugged me, right? But it was a lesson that I learned, and it's funny enough, I never did it again. Never did it again.
You do have a silver medal. You have a pal called Daley Thompson, the world famous decathlete, fabulous athlete and a great guy as well. What did he say to you about your medal?
Yeah, you know, Daley was always a hero of mine. I absolutely adored Daley Thompson from I was a 17-year-old or 16, 17-year-old kid. So when you get the opportunity to meet your hero eventually, and I just won the silver medal in Seoul at the age of 21. And I thought, because my hero was in the team then, that's the right time to announce yourself to your hero. And I thought, right, I'm brave enough now. So I'm an Olympic silver medalist, so let me knock his door. So I went over and I knocked Daley's door, you know, proper. And there was nothing. So I knocked it louder. And I heard a bit of rustling. The door flies open. Of course, there's your hero looking you straight in the face. And I stopped and I froze for a moment. And I said, Mr. Thompson. And he said, yeah. I said, I'm Colin Jackson. He said, I know you are. I thought, this may not go down very well. I said, I competed yesterday and I want to show you what I won. So, of course, this is the ultimate athlete, right, in this sense. So I go into my bag and I take out this beautiful purple velvet box and I open it and I show Daley Thompson my absolutely gorgeously shiny Olympic silver medal. And Daley Thompson looks at the medal, he looks at me, he looks back at the medal, and then he says, "You know, I didn't realize they made Olympic medals in that color."
Yeah, but you kind of got your own back. Tell them about the car.
Yeah. So, as you can imagine, that took away a little bit of the wind out of my sail in that sense. But Daley was wonderful, and he brought me in his room, and we chatted away about stuff. And when your hero tells you that he believes you can make it, you really, really believe that you can make it in that sense. So, a couple of years go by and we're in Loughborough Summer School, because at the time it's something called Loughborough Summer School, where all the national coaches of Great Britain would educate the rest of the coaches of the world. And Daley used to go up there to demonstrate for a guy called Frank Dick, because Frank Dick was the head coach there. And I used to go up to demonstrate for my coach, Malcolm Arnold. And I had my car parked there, and Daley's car was parked right in front of mine. And I had to go into Loughborough Town Centre with another friend of mine. And I said, "Oh, Daley, can you move your car?" He went, "Oh, no, just take the car." So I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, just take the car." So I took the keys off him. Now, this is a Porsche that he's giving me the keys off, right? So I ride into town. You can imagine now, I'm feeling like Chuck. I'm 23 and I'm going into Loughborough Town Centre with a Porsche. Most probably the car was worth more than a street in those days, right? I drive in there, get there, do what I need to do. On the way back to the university, I crash his car. And I drive, I limp the vehicle back to the stadium. I park the car, and I see Daley, and I'm with a friend of mine, Vegard, and we're walking towards him. And Daley looks at me. He said, "All right, boys." I said, "Yeah, yeah." He said, "Everything good?" I went, "I crashed your car." So he starts to laugh. All right, and I said, "No, I seriously crashed your car." And he said, "Let me go have a look." So we walked over to the car, and he said, like, the whole front end was wrecked like that. And he turned to myself and Vegard and he said, "Are you boys okay?" And we both looked at him and said, "Yeah, yeah, we're all okay." He went, "Well, that's okay then." He said, "This is nothing. Don't worry about the car. But as long as you two boys are fine, that's the most important thing." And I realized, and I learned from him there, the importance of human life over material goods. Lots of people would have lost their mind over the fact that their beautiful car that they've worked so hard for has been wrecked by these kids. But Daley's concern was that we were okay as human beings. And I thought to myself, how lovely, what a lesson is to learn there from your hero, that just being a decent person and checking in is more important than anything else.
He is known to be a lovely, lovely man, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he's decent in that sense, I mean, you've got to get to know him.
We have a final question that I have prepped you for, is who would Colin Jackson hire in a heartbeat?
And that would be easy to answer. It would be Archbishop Desmond Tutu.
Okay.
I was fortunate to interview him down in Cape Town, and he was just a phenomenal human being. And the struggles and the torment he has been through, he's just such an inspiring character. And when you think life is tough, boy, you would not want to walk 2 steps in that man's shoes. He was just an incredible human being. So to have that knowledge by you, yeah, be great.
I can understand. I've met him in Dublin, and the smile, always the smile.
Yeah.
Incredible man.
Absolutely.
Now, that is it for episode 287 of That Great Business Show. My huge thanks to Colin Jackson. I think he deserves a Dublin round of applause.
Thank you.
He is a man, as you saw, who treats life as a series of finishing lines and keeps breaking the tape. Do you like that?
I love it.
Okay, I'll send you the notes.
Thank you.
And our thanks again to the National Concert Hall for the use of the premises here for tonight's recording. In the old days, we used to thank the priest for the use of the hall, but on this occasion, it's the National Concert Hall. And to the Welsh office of the British Embassy in Dublin for organising the event and bringing a touch of Welsh sporting greatness to Dublin. And you are most welcome. And my thanks to the production team here at the Dublin South FM studios, who are over there, and who keep the whole operation running as smooth as. Peter Rice, our studio manager, the undisputed starter's gun. You see, I'm going to start doing a lot of...
Love it.
Be some, know nothing at all about sport. The man who fires the race into action. And on the relay team this week, handing over the baton behind the scenes, Lee Brennan, Richard Ryan, Neil Horner. And thanks to our long-standing sponsor, De Facto Shaving Oil. You are getting one of those.
Thank you.
For you.
Thank you very much.
This is true. Do you know what he told me? He shaves his legs. And that is ideal for shaving legs. And why do you shave your legs, Colin?
Because the massage therapist absolutely hates you if you have hair on your legs and you feel
Who'd have thought it?
Who would have thought it, right? Yeah.
And we have a gentleman and ladies agreement, which is simple. We do the work. We just ask you to subscribe to the podcast. For exchange, agus mar Dermot Goni, good evening, Margaret. I say Shach to Goswan Tom.